Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is the latest episode of the United Community Podcast. We're back in business and we've got plenty to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about Manchester United. We're going to talk about Ten Hag's future. We're going to talk a little bit about the title race, the top four race as well. Plenty to discuss. Hit the like and subscribe button. Get your comments in below. Let's get right into it. And he's back, ladies and gentlemen. He makes his long-awaited return. David Rice. Rice, he's with us. How are you getting on, man?
Well, Jack, how are you?
All good. All good. How are you keeping?
All good now. All good. Trying to keep
Happy
good
days.
side out.
Happy days. You've missed us, I presume.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time. You seem to be doing fairly all right there anyway. I seen your theatrics there yesterday on TikTok. I was watching it this morning on my break when Rashford's goal went in.
Yeah, I didn't want to be putting up any of the City goals. It's the first time I've ever done that. But we've got a lot of requests for you, or a lot of people asking when you're coming back on the channel. So welcome back. Delighted to have you. But look, we'll jump straight into it. Obviously, you know, we want to talk about United as much as possible in the podcast, and obviously a disappointing result. And usually we'd like to get your take from, you know, obviously you're not a Manchester United fan, publicly anyway. But what did you make of the game yesterday? Obviously, you know, I had me saying I thought there was a massive gulf in class, and City kind of nearly tied with us at stages. But what did you make of it yourself?
Yeah, like if you kind of go on the stats, big gulf in class, it gave you a lot to shout about there for a while. I actually missed the first half. I was down watching a game in Waterford, and me and teammate of mine, Dion, were coming back for it. So he had it up in the car when we were on the way home, and he was sweating it just to get through to half time.
Yeah,
he was just like, oh, just, you know, because they were, by the sounds of it, we had it on the radio in the car and he had it up on the phone, but the phone was a bit laggy. But he was saying just to try and get it through to half time, and they were peppering that goal. And then Haaland's chance just before half time, which a player his caliber, you wouldn't actually think that he would miss that chance. When we looked at it quickly, it looked like it was almost easier put in. I know he kind of got down very low. You're wondering why he didn't kind of go at his head, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But look, easier said than done. Overall, I think the stats show, well, if you're, I know it's not all based on stats, but if you're going stats, like City absolutely battered United off the park. I think I seen something there with shots on the City had something like 25 or 6 shots. I think United had a lot less. They only had a couple on target.
Yeah.
But overall, I think going into it, as you like, from a United fans' perspective, you never want to lose a derby, but to be fair to United, they have a hell of a lot of injuries there. They don't really have, well, would you call Varane your first choice centre half? Like very makeshift centre, or very makeshift back line. And I don't think Lindelof proved anything at left back there yesterday anyway. But
no, there's been a number of times where he's been played there and he's just completely out of his depth.
Yeah, and look, it is a lot to ask of someone, you know, because you know, even from playing junior football, yeah, you slot in at right and left full plenty of times, centre half naturally. But like, this is like, you're talking about the best teams in the world here, or the highest level in the world, and you're fitting in a left back. It's not an easy thing to do. He's not naturally left-sided player. You see, like with Cities, I know they don't play fullbacks, but like Walker's, even though he's right of a back three, still bombs forward. Yeah. And then they have like Stones or Rodri who can just drop in there as a defender when they get forward. You're never going to have that out of Lindelof, realistically, with a right-footed centre half playing left back.
You know what? Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think there's a case to be made that it's easier for a right-footed fullback playing on the wrong side when you've got inverted wingers? Like, you know, the way, say, Foden comes in on his left-footed. Arsenal are just gone 1-up, by the way, 4.5 minutes gone. But, you know, the likes of Foden coming in on his left foot, he's naturally coming onto Lindelof's stronger foot, you would say. Does that make any difference?
You think it should, but me playing, I don't think it would. I don't like.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be very hard to stop Foden anyway. I know he might have that better spring, or that like he'd be able to kind of block it better with his right foot. But like, you're thinking if you're diving at a ball to block it, it doesn't really matter if you're going with your kind of right or left foot for that.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Like,
In fairness to him, he did show Foden down the line an awful lot. It's just the one time he let him really inside.
he did, and look, I'm just saying on the day, I think Lindelof, I agree with what you say with Lindelof, like as far as United and a clear out go, which maybe we can tip on before we finish, or like players that have to go, he would be a player that I would be keeping. He's a player that I'm sure he's a great trainer, but you never see him in the press. He never seems to be doing anything wrong outside of football. He always gives his all and never complains when he's not starting.
Yeah, he seems to be happy to be a squad player.
Yeah. Which I know players should have the highest ambition, but like he's playing for, albeit they're not playing like one of the best teams and biggest teams in the world. It's a fact that Manchester United are one of the biggest teams, probably top 3-4 biggest teams in the world.
Yeah.
And so look,
Hey,
you see then Evans gave his all. He actually done a very good job on Haaland. It was a pity he had to kind of come off. Kobe Manu, like what way do you? I didn't see much of Garnacho now, to be honest, for the game that was in it.
Well, Garnacho, in fairness to him, he's going through a poor spell at the moment. I have to say it. You know,
he is only a kid still, though, and it's just because the media spotlight is on him.
Exactly. Like my way of kind of describing Garnacho at the moment is that he's a moment player. You know, he lives for these moments, like his bicycle kick and so on and so forth. And I think he hasn't got consistency into his game yet, and it's very hard to do that as a young player. You know, you need.
But what age is he? 19.
19, yeah.
Like I was looking there earlier on, Phil Foden's 23 years old, and Phil Foden's 24 in May. So he's got like the guts of 4 or 5 years on Garnacho. But it took Phil Foden a hell of a long time to break in to be a mainstay in this Man City team.
Well, see, the difference is, Ricey, is that Phil Foden is in a team and a squad that can afford to play him 15 times or 20 times a season.
Garnacho exactly. And over some bad
luxury.
Like the thing about it is when you're playing with a team at Man City and the squad depth that they have, if you can put in a poor performance and your team can still win because they're not solely relying on you. Because if you look across their top 4, top 5, say Foden, De Bruyne, Silva, Doku, and Haaland. Although I don't think Doku has set the world alight. His first few games with him, he was kind of ripping it up. I think he's kind of gone into a bit of a shadow there now. I'm not saying he's a poor player.
Is he keeping Jack Grealish out of the team, or is Jack Grealish?
I think Jack Grealish is injured. Remember, Jack Grealish broke down. He came on. Was it last week or the week before?
Oh yeah.
And he came off, and he had his head in his hands. He looked very, very upset. But he was keeping him out of the team at the start of the season. But I don't think he has lit the world alight. But then again, as I say, you have so many lads like De Bruyne came back in. He came on as a substitute. And did he have a goal and assist when he came on as a substitute in that first game back?
Yeah.
Then the next game, he had a couple more assists. Like, he just really took back into it like a duck to water. And it's very similar to last season. He was injured for a good bit of the season and comes back in at the business end of the season to really push him on, which is just a joy that they have. Although I don't think City's squad is as strong as last season. I know it's pretty much the same. They lost a couple of players. I think Mahrez was a key player last season. I don't think Doku is to his standard yet. Jack Grealish isn't playing as much as he was last season. Haaland is obviously the best striker in the Premier League, if not one of the best, if not the best striker in the world.
Yeah.
And he's having a great season, but he's not on the same level as he was last season.
No, he wasn't. He's not. Absolutely, he's not.
But they're still chipping in with goals everywhere. It's another big problem for United just at the moment is their goals, because their defensive record in the Premier League isn't too bad. They've conceded 39 goals in 27 games. I know you want a better record than that, but like, given the circumstances, they're missing a lot of players. They have a lot of makeshift defenses this season. Maguire was in and out. They're like, you got the butcher back there.
I read yesterday, United since the start of the season have had 26 different combinations of back four.
Yeah, and 26 different combinations in the league or in all competitions.
I think in all competitions.
Yeah, maybe all competitions, because they have 27 games all playing the league, and then maybe give another 10 games, 10, 11 games on top of that.
And if you
Which
look
is,
at
yeah,
it as well, the same stat said, like if you look at maybe our strongest back four, you're probably talking Delo, Martinez, Varane, and Luke Shaw, and they've only played as a back four once so far this season together.
yeah. Like, it's just goals that are really letting
Squad depth
down. Like,
United was a huge
you
issue, isn't it?
you look at Spurs there, who are ahead of Liverpool, or who are ahead of United now in the table, and they've almost 20 league goals scored more than them, and they lost Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Spurs, who wouldn't be renowned for a goal scoring team.
You're just edging early for Postecoglou, aren't you?
Yeah, he has he
No, we
he
get
got
into
he
that in a
came
minute.
into the Premier League and got he came into the Premier League and got manager of the month 3 years running. The Spurs they have died off a bit, but like at the end of the day, their main goal is the same goal as Manchester United: finish as high up that table as possible. It would have been nice to see Spurs pick up a trophy, but
I want to get your opinion, Ricey, on Marcus Rashford. Obviously, it's been a while since we spoke to you and all, and obviously he's had his ups and downs, mainly downs this season on the back of a brilliant campaign last year. What do you make of it from the outside looking in? I mean, he just looks like a guy. Now, obviously, scored an absolute world-class goal on the weekend, but still, you would expect. Like when I seen that from him, I was saying, right, this is a lad now that's going to be playing with a bit of confidence. But every time since he got that goal, every time he was running, like there was 1 or 2 stages where he had maybe 5 or 6 yards on Kyle Walker, and we know Kyle Walker is fast. And as soon as Rashford looked over his shoulder and seen he was coming, he stopped and turned back.
Yeah, he's like, Rashford has all the tools there, but he's a senior player in the squad now. What age is Rashford? 26?
26.
26. He has all the tools there to be the world-class player. I don't doubt his passion to play for Manchester United. I see him coming out lately. Has he released a book? I see him coming out lately saying, like,
he done an interview last week.
Yeah, almost saying as in, was it? I wasn't sure if it was a book. It was an interview he released, was it?
Yeah.
I just seen he had something up there on social media, saying that to get his side of the story out.
That's right.
Like, this isn't kind of things you need in the middle of a season.
No,
he's kind of calmed down on his kind of charity work and all that for the minute. He just needs to get his head down and work. But it's hard for players like this to have motivation when they're given contracts at 350,000 a week. Now, it is his boyhood club, and I don't doubt that he loves playing for Manchester United and that he loves the fans and believes in everything the club does. But it's just absolute inconsistency. Like, I have plenty of friends that are Manchester United fans, and even yourself, I see it with a lot of players with Manchester United, especially since Ferguson left. Like, players can be 0 to hero to zero very, very quickly. Like, prime examples of this, I think the biggest examples of this over the last couple of years, if I had to pick 2 players, are McTominay and Rashford.
Yeah.
There was kind of cases of this happening with like Martial and all, but I think everybody, that ship has well sailed now. I think everybody's in agreement that he's gone. And they're probably on the same way to get rid of McTominay. McTominay's another lad that never complains. He always tries to put in a shift, but you're wondering, for a club like Manchester United, is putting in a shift good enough? It's like when players play for Ireland historically, like James McLean has over 100 caps for Ireland, and like people will be like, Ireland would lose or could draw with a poor nation, and people would be like, what was the shining light? And people would be like, oh, well, geez, James McLean, you couldn't fault him. He put in a shift. And you're like, yeah, he put in a shift. That's the minimum any player should do when representing their club or country, is give 110% at any level, whether it's junior football or you're playing for United or Real Madrid. 110% is the minimum you should give. But some players just aren't technically good enough for the stature of the clubs they're at. And unfortunately, McTominay probably falls into this bracket, whereas Rashford doesn't fall into that bracket because he is good enough. It's just pure inconsistency. And I don't know how you change that, because he can come out and set the world alight. And you can see when he scored that goal yesterday, the celebration, what it meant to him. And I seen Sky Sports put up a stat after it. He has some amount of goals against the top 6 teams.
Yeah.
Like, he scores in big games, so you can't doubt that. But where do you draw the line? Do you go on for the next 2 years just playing him on your left wing or playing him as a makeshift centre forward and kind of like hoping that he'll get that run of consistency? Because we can see last year, even though people be like, Rashford wasn't at his best, I think he bagged 30, 31 goals.
Yeah, 30 goals.
30 goals last season. So he has it in his locker. But what do you think you do with him?
Look, I've been asked this. He's on trial for me until the end of the season. You know, he has to be. I understand. I've seen inconsistencies from game to game. We've seen inconsistencies with him from season to season. You know, he scores 5 goals 2 seasons ago, then 30 goals, and now he's on 5 or 6 goals again this season. You know, 3/4 of the way through. There's massive inconsistencies there. I think if you were to put a gun to my head and say, you know, are we going to win? Or you know, again, one player doesn't determine whether you get back to winning Premier Leagues or not. But is he going to be a key, you know, contributor to Man United getting back to winning Premier League titles? I don't think he is. I think he's too inconsistent.
Like, if you put ability-wise and everything there, like, you pick that City team, you put Rashford in the City squad, Rashford can easily start on that left wing.
Yeah, but he wouldn't, because of his inconsistencies and because of his work rate and because of his heart.
You see, that you mentioned the key word there, work rate. Yeah. And that's what comes back to what I say. The minimum that should be given when you're playing for any club is 110%. And if he even gave that.
Well, that's what I've been saying, Ricey. I've been saying he's a Manchester lad. He's from the area. He's a United fan. He would get such a pass from United fans if he just worked hard.
But he is even getting a pass. Like, the United fans aren't. There was periods where they're mad.
They are. Yeah, like, there was. I was listening to Andy Mitten, who's a Manchester United journalist and from Manchester as well. He sells Manchester United fanzine, like, programs outside the stands. After the Wolves game, he asked like 20 or 30 United fans coming out, would you keep Marcus Rashford next season? And none of them said yeah.
Yeah. So,
look,
what was you cash in? Like, where does he go? He won't be going anywhere else in England for the time being. Like,
I mean, I would find it hard to turn down an £80 million offer for him in the summer. I honestly would. I think that money would go so far. When you're talking about United need a massive overhaul on that squad, you know, and 80 million from an academy player, especially when it comes to FFP and all that, it's like double bubble nearly. It's literally, it's all profit because you haven't paid anything for him and so on and so forth. I think that gets reinvested massively. If you've got someone like Dan Ashworth as a sporting director, your man Omar Brad as the CEO, Dave Brailsford, Jim Radcliffe, all of this, I think it's very hard to turn down 80 million.
Yeah, like, if Rashford just could turn his attitude into an attitude of like Phil Foden. Phil Foden spoke after the match yesterday. He said he relishes the big games. He said the big games are the real games where he wants to prove himself, and I think he is proving himself. Like, I think he's a must start for England come the summer.
100%.
But like, if you even look at him, he just never gives up. He tries and he tries. If you look yesterday, I know they're not all on target, but he had 9 shots in the game yesterday. Like, that's for a winger cutting in, having a smack, you know?
Yeah.
That goal yesterday.
I do feel sorry for a way for Rashford, because there's been so many inconsistencies at United. You know what I mean? Like, Phil Foden has had Pep Guardiola his entire career at Manchester City. And Rashford has had, I think, 5 or 6 managers, you know, that are coming in with brand new, different philosophies every time. And Rashford has to rip up everything he's learning or what he's doing. You know,
I know, and I know then he gets used as a makeshift centre forward because he has the attributes for that. He's quick, he's fast, he's big, you know, he's strong. Like, he's able to play that. He's able to play that position. But look, just going back to the game, I don't think United fans will be overly disappointed. They gave me a lot to cheer about there for what, 70, 80 minutes, was it? When did
the display was really good. I have to say. I think it was probably our best defensive display under Eric Ten Hag in
I
terms
tell you,
of
I think
how we set
it
up our
was one of
shape.
a better display anyway out of Onana.
Well, I was just going to bring up Onana and ask you about him, because obviously there's been a lot of criticism early on in his United career. I mentioned it in the Talking Points video this morning that I think we've got a really good goalkeeper on our hands. I said it from day one that Inter don't get to a Champions League final if they don't have a good goalkeeper last season, and he was probably 15 seconds away from a Champions League final with Ajax that time that Spurs came back and bet him. So I think he's turned the corner. What do you make of him?
Yeah, I think it's a bit early to say if he turned the corner. Yeah, I know you might be saying that kind of almost with a bit of hope in there. Like, he made a lot of high-profile errors at the start of the season.
Well, he's basically the reason why we're still not in the Champions League.
Yeah, it's probably, how would I put this? Like, I don't mean to be bigging up United as one of the most important roles in world football, but I'd say United are definitely one of the most scrutinized teams in world football, because they're so big, because they were so successful for such a long period. Teams are kind of enjoying, I won't say their downfall, because it's not a downfall. They're still at the correct end of the table. They're just finding it hard to consistently break into that top three on a consistent basis.
United but if you come story all the time, you know what I mean?
If you come down, they're constantly in the news.
About City's win yesterday, they're talking about United losing.
Yeah, if you come into scrutiny with United and places on the team, like the two most probably scrutinized places are going to be if you're a big money striker and you're not scoring goals, and if you're a goalie that's conceding goals. David De Gea got it for years at United. Now David De Gea is gone, and people are realizing, geez, maybe we're a bit harsh on him. I know he mightn't have been the best at kicking the ball out, but like, he was certainly good at stopping goals. But Onana then put in this position of being a goalie. David De Gea, although at the end a lot of people were happy to see him go, he was a fan's favorite for years. He got Player of the Year, Club Player of the Year 2, 3, 4 years running. I think he got it 6 or 7 times over the whole span of his career. And Onana's coming in and then making errors, silly errors. And at the start, he kind of backed it up with this confidence, I don't care what people think. These kind of slightly came back to bite him in the arse when he kind of kept making the mistakes. But to credit to him, he stuck to his guns, and he's doing all right. Look, it's a very difficult position to play, and especially when your back four in front of you is changed so much. I did see something was said the other day, and I heard Roy Keane saying, I heard someone saying, oh, that was Onana's 11th clean sheet of season, fair play to him and all. And Roy Keane was like, fair play to him. He was like, 11. I'd be saying only 11. Do you know? He's like, only. He's like, 11 clean sheets in like 38 games. 11 clean sheets. He was like, fair play to the chap. He goes, what's he being paid for? He goes, it should be, and realistically it should be, because just looking at it here, he has 7 clean sheets in 27 Premier League games, which isn't a great return. But then again, it's not completely his fault.
No, I think clean sheets are goalkeeper and defense. You could nearly push it as far as the whole 11, but
yeah, you could, because your defense starts with your attack, like how it's going to come back, or how it's going to be held up or anything. But it's just, that's what, at the end of the day, at the end of the Premier League, it's a goalie that's rewarded for clean sheets.
Yeah,
a goalie gets a golden glove, so it's not a centre back or it's not a defence or anything. It's a goalie that gets credited with that. So they're going to kind of zoom in on that for a goalie, whoever, if he doesn't have it. But look, he's doing all right. I don't think they're going to be under pressure to be looking at a new goalie next year. And I'd say at the start of the season, you were kind of worried. But look, he's after turning it around a bit. I wouldn't say he's setting the world alight, but I'd say, look, for the last couple of weeks, people haven't been talking about him, and that's certainly a good thing.
Yeah, no news is good news, always.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Eric Ten Hag. because Jesus, Arsenal are 4-0 up after 24 minutes against Sheffield United.
I'm not promoting betting or anything, but I have a -2, so hopefully.
Lovely.
Did Saka score?
No, I don't know, to be honest with you. He was involved in one of the goals. I think it was an own goal eventually, but let me have a look at it here. No, he didn't score that one anyway. But yeah, talk to me a little bit about Erik ten Hag. 100 games in for Manchester United. We'll put it up on the screen here, and he's got 61 wins, 11 draws, 28 defeats, win ratio of 61%. And these stats at the bottom are the ones that I don't like the most. Games faced, 20 shots or more, 14, and defeats by 3 or more goals, 7. What do you make of Ten Hag? Like, obviously, people who watch the channel regularly will know that I want him to get time. I want him to be, given another minimum 12 months, I think. I think maybe this season and next season, just to get a kind of a feel for what it's going to be like under Ineos and the new structure. What's your take from the outside looking in? Is he walking on eggshells? Is he a dead man walking, or is he going to get?
No, look, and you'd see it from looking at your channel. Certain games, there's only so much a manager can do that you can, like, when it comes back, like, you have some defeats there, and like Onana, I don't mean to be going back to Onana, might let in a calamity of a goal and you draw the game or lose the game. He can't exactly do a whole lot about that. The thing that I would say is sometimes his substitutions and his game management would baffle supporters. But overall, if you weren't talking about a club like United, maybe City, Liverpool, if you look at them stats, 90% of clubs would be, barred what you're saying at the bottom there, but 90% of clubs will be very happy with 61 wins in the manager's first 100 games. But again, you're talking at a team that has aspirations to be back fighting for titles, that wants to be knocking around the latter stages of the Champions League. I think this summer will tell a lot with Sir Jim Ratcliffe in now, and to see if there is actually big changes in. I think a lot is relying on this. I don't know if you're to get rid of Ten Hag, who do you get in? But the only thing is, I know you're saying another 12 months. You're saying United also need a bit of a clear out. I'm not saying you're saying that. In general, people are saying they need a big clear out.
Yeah, they do.
If they need a big clear out, and if they're having doubts over Ten Hag, in my opinion, the summer could be the time for change. Like, do you leave him in, give him a war chest to make a load of changes, and then 3 or 4 months into the new season be like, geez, this isn't working?
Well, I think the reason for Ten Hag potentially staying is that the new structures that are being put in place by Jim Ratcliffe, with a CEO, a director of football, Dave Brailsford on the scene, is that Ten Hag is going to be part of that team to give his input on who he wants to sign. He's not going to have full control over who United get or who United go out and buy, which in my opinion is the right thing. I think, like, let's take Anthony, for example, a terrible waste of money. Now, it's not Ten Hag's fault that United got rinsed for £85 million, but he did recommend him and he wanted him. Now, if Ten Hag last season or the season before had, a director of football and all of these structures that the likes of City, Arsenal, Liverpool all have, I don't think the same pressure comes on him.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I wouldn't be avidly saying, as I said, I'm not a United fan, I wouldn't be avidly saying get rid of Ten Hag. Like, it's as the United fans that kind of really have to see what to go. Like, when you're saying, would you be saying wholesale changes in the summer? Like, what are you saying? Minimum of how many players in, how many players out?
5 minimum.
5 out.
Yeah, like you have to be realistic. You're not going to sell 8, 9 players in one transfer window. It's just I just don't think it's going to happen. And if it does, then you have to bring in 8 or 9 players because our squad is paper thin as it is. So I mean, when I'm talking 5 players in, I'm talking 5 like ready-made starting players. That are going straight into that starting 11. No messing around with
I was only listening to a podcast, and this is kind of off the beaten track a bit, but it's kind of the same. idea, and they were going on about Chelsea, and they're saying Chelsea have this 5-year plan. They're buying these players because they want to be winning everything in 5 years, and they're saying a team of Chelsea's size shouldn't be buying players to build a team for 5 years down the line. They should be buying players for now, as well as blooding players for 5 years down the line. Not buying 8, 19 and 20-year-olds to have this super team in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
Which you can see the kind of point behind that. Like, what are you saying? Oh, we'll put in 3 or 4.
Don't have patience. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I'm actually surprised how long they've had patience with Pochettino. Personally, don't rate Pochettino myself, but like, he's another player that, like, United fans were or another manager United fans were shouting for a while, and I'd say you're pretty happy that you didn't get him.
Oh, delighted, absolutely delighted. Yeah, no, like, I remember when it was between Ten Hag and Pochettino, and I was Ten Hag all the way. If you were the owner of Manchester United, given how putting everything into the into the mix, injuries, lack of squad depth, and then the results, would you keep Ten Hag or would you get rid of him?
No, I think he'd keep him. Given his right signings, this guy that's coming in now is from Newcastle, Dan
Ashworth.
Ashworth. Will he have a say in this kind of thing? Is he the guy that came from Brighton?
That's right. He's the head man now in terms of all footballing decisions. He is the main man.
And he done a pretty decent job there at Brighton.
He done a brilliant job at Brighton.
I'm not 100% sure. He didn't have that long a stint at Newcastle.
Yeah, and he was with, who's the other team he was with previously? He had a really good spell previously. He was with the English FA as well, and kind of he was involved heavily in player identification and all that. He's basically the best football director money can buy, supposedly. You know what I mean?
It would be with things looking up on the horizon and things said to be, we have these improvements coming in. I think it would be pretty harsh not to give Ten Hag a crack at this whip.
Yeah.
Considering things that he's had to deal with over the last couple of years, we always seem to bring it up in the pod, between the likes of Ronaldo, between the likes of Jadon Sancho, different things happening with Rashford, and then that long injury list. Because to be fair to United, albeit not all the players that are injured are world class, they have a heavy injury list there at the minute.
Yeah. I think between illnesses and injuries, United have had 47 of them this season, where players weren't available for games. 47 different ones.
Yeah, like that's
it's crazy. Talk to me then a little bit about the top 4 before we move on from United. Obviously, when it comes to United looking to get into the top 4, we've got 2 quite capable teams ahead of us, obviously with Aston Villa and Spurs. Villa are now 11 points ahead of us, and Spurs are 6 points ahead with a game in hand. Is top 4 out of the question for United, do you reckon?
I don't think so, because I don't think it's out of the question. And look, there's a quarter of the season left to go more. You can't be really writing it off at this stage, Nobody knows what's going to happen. Aston Villa have unbelievable home form. They went there a period of 3 or 4 games without a win. Spurs are a real mixed bag. They can come out and beat the top teams. They're kind of similar to United in that sense, although they play a much more attractive style of football. They can come out and then they took some kind of heavy or shock defeats where you wouldn't think it. They're another team that had their fair share of injuries this season. Yeah. But it's a battle between them 3 for that position. You would kind of imagine, like, just going historically, that the likes of Villa might tail off. More power to them if they don't, because they're a massive club. And I think on a personal level, it would be unbelievable to see them nab a Champions League spot. Yeah, just because. I think a lot of football and fans kind of have a soft spot for Villa. They're a massive club. They've that kind of old school stadium. They're kind of doing things the right way, like without spending.
A very good manager.
Yeah, they have. Who, look, he wasn't his best at Arsenal, but seemed to be pretty good everywhere else he was.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that the first 3 spots are sewn up anyway. They're in a kind of different race of their own.
Yeah. But the one thing I would say about that league table, and again, I mentioned it this morning in the Talking Points video, is that whatever about looking up at Spurs and Villa, I mean, just look below. You know, like West Ham are 2 points behind us. You know, Newcastle are 4 points and Brighton are 5 points behind us. You know, so like when you're talking about, you know, maybe if Villa and Spurs tail off and maybe have a few blips and you could catch them. I mean, United need to basically have, I won't say a perfect run-in, but as close to a perfect run-in as possible, because by the looks of things, West Ham are after getting over a bit of a difficult spot. They're starting to hit a little bit of form the last couple of games. You never know what Newcastle can do. So, you know, it's going to be a difficult, but I think you have
still in Europe.
Yeah.
What would you take if you're Aston Villa? What would you take if you're Aston Villa? Win the conference. Win the conference or take 4th spot?
Oh, win the conference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a fan, I mean, there was talks about this with West Ham last year that, you know, West Ham were flirting around the relegation zone last season, but they went out and won the Europa Conference League, you know.
Yeah.
And as fans, all you want to see is your team lift the trophy. I mean, when was the last time Villa won anything? It was, I don't know. I don't think in my lifetime they've ever won anything. Not that I can.
I'm going to make a call anyway. It'll be between United and Spurs. I don't think Villa will make the top 4. Like looking at Villa, 3 of Villa's last 6 games,
I think they'll give up 11 points.
They have a serious tough run of fixtures running.
Whatever between Spurs, like obviously Spurs would only be 2 points behind them if they win their game in hand. But it's 11 points dropped into United.
Yeah, it's
like that's them basically dropping a point a game between now and the end of the season on average.
Yeah, look, realistically there, between Spurs and Villa, it should be, that 4th spot should be theirs for the taking. You don't know football. It's going to take United to string a lot of good results together. Like that result to Fulham was a real kick in the stones for United, because who'd you play the week before that? You had a good win the week before, or a good result the week before.
No, it was a good result. It wasn't a good performance. It was against Luton. We scraped the Luton win in the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, 2024 has been a good year so far for United. We lost to Fulham and lost to Man City, and we were unbeaten up until them 2 games, you know.
Yeah, I know Fulham aren't a bad side, but to lose that Old Trafford was kind of a real kick in the balls there, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I think, like what I've been saying before, I think United's performances in 2024 haven't been great. Obviously, injuries and lack of depth and all that have parts to play. But I think just when it came to the Fulham game, I think the bad performances just caught up with us. Like we were putting in bad performances and just still picking up results. We just couldn't continue it against Fulham, and they nabbed us. Talk to me a little bit then. We'll move away from Man United. Let's talk about the title race. Obviously, Liverpool lead the way, 63 points. City are a point behind. I mean, I can't tell you how furious I was when Nottingham Forest on the weekend with that goal Liverpool scored. I mean, they had the ball on the edge of the box. All they had to do was kick it away, and the ref would have blew the final whistle, and your man tries to dribble it out, and he loses possession.
Yeah.
And that would have...
I see fans giving out about Liverpool saying this kind of, to me, bullshit about, a player went down, holding his face, his own keeper hit him, there was nothing wrong with him, which led to the goal. But the goal went in a minute and 20 seconds later.
Even more. I think it was close to 2 minutes after it.
You know, like they're absolutely clutching at straws there. The thing about this, that if Liverpool can get a result against City, which Liverpool are at home, I believe, are they?
I'm not sure.
I think Liverpool are at home to City.
Yeah.
If they can pull off a result there or grab a win, I think just with the whole thing of its Klopp's last year, like they're getting, as well as doing very well and not taking anything from them, they're getting that bit of luck. Do you know that bit of luck? Like that goal the other day, who was it? Was it McAllister that just swung in a Hail Mary into the box and like in the last seconds, the dying enders of the game, just like putting a little Hail Mary into the box and big Darwin scores, you know. Like
Like,
it's
are they? Is it character or is it luck? You know what I mean? Like, will that run out on him?
no,
Or
no. I think there's an element of luck, but I think it's camaraderie. I think it's everything. What Klopp built there is special, similar to like when City are flying it to what Pep has there. There's a real togetherness. Would you
yeah,
see that from the outside in? No,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely,
like,
absolutely. I don't think they're going to be good enough to win the league. I don't. They're not as good as City. And I think, was it Gary Neville that said it on Sky Sports last night? They're Liverpool or Arsenal, if they're to win the league, will have to beat Man City. They can't rely on someone else to beat Man
yeah,
City for them.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
But Liverpool, like have everything in their locker there to beat City.
Well, they do. Well, they do. But my point being is how tight it is. If Nottingham Forest had to clear that ball on the edge of the box, Liverpool would be in third now.
If John Stones had been a half a second later a couple of years ago and
I know.
not cleared that ball by a millimetre over the line, Liverpool would have been champions.
I know.
You know, there's ifs, buts, maybes everywhere, but at the end of the day, they put the ball in that onion bag and
What do you
big
make of Darwin
Darwin.
Nunez? I've been a big critic of him. I don't rate him an awful lot. Now I know, whatever he has been scoring some goals of late, and he's, in fairness to him, he's got some good goals. From the outside, what do you reckon of him? He just looks like a handful more than anything else.
He is a big, athletic, awkward man.
Yeah.
But he can finish balls and he has some work rate. He doesn't give up. Like, I talked to some of my friends there that are big Liverpool fans, lads, Andy Walsh here and these, and he's their favourite player.
Yeah.
Big Darwin. Like, I know he struggled kind of at, I know he kind of struggled at the start, but his stats this season are good.
Yeah, they are good.
Like, he's doing well, to be fair.
Mm.
And like, you have to show, I sound like Brendan Rodgers here using character, but you have to show like the character even of that. You're a minute over the additional time that was given, and he's still there, just hunting around that box and just stretched to throw that big, lanky body on the end of that ball, and he only got the smallest of flicks into it.
Yeah.
I think it could be nearly an inspiration that Klopp announced that when he done that. Like, I know it's only the Carling Cup, and I know people aren't getting too carried away with it and all. But like, if Liverpool finish this season with 2 and maybe even 3 trophies, no matter what 2 or 3 they are, like, Klopp is finishing on an unbelievable high.
Yeah, I agree with
I
you.
know it's like, it's just the truth of the matter. Like, if they win that league, Klopp could turn around and say, "I'm going for 21."
Nah, he won't.
Imagine it. Imagine it.
Well, let me ask you this. What way do you think Liverpool will be when Klopp leaves?
When Klopp leaves, I think it depends who leaves. I know all his backroom staff is leaving. I know that, but I mean playing staff-wise, depends who leave. If Salah turned around and said, "Oh, look, I'll cash in there and I'll go join Mane over for 800 grand a week, $1 million a week over in Saudi." I'm not saying he will do that now, but there'll be obviously massive offers coming in from Saudi. Like, if Liverpool were like, geez, we're getting offered 70 million here for Van Dijk. Do you know, like,
yeah,
I think a lot of it depends who goes. If no one goes, I think they're left in a very good position with the correct manager coming in.
And
I think they're definitely left in a better position than Manchester United were left when Fergie left. I know Fergie won the league the week before or the year before, but he kind of bought Van Persie to win that league, and Van Persie was kind of coming towards the end of his tether too. I still think Van Persie was left off a year too early from United, but I just think it all depends. Like, the likes of Van Dijk, some of these boys could turn around and say, look, not we're leaving with Klopp, but like it's time for a new era at Liverpool.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you look at it, the only two players that are kind of in that age bracket are Van Dijk and Salah. The rest are all young. I mean, Andy Robertson is still young. Trent is still young. They have a brand new midfield that's not going anywhere. The forward line is all pretty much new as well.
Yeah, like I think they would be in good stead with the correct manager. Who the correct manager is, sure, all eyes are looking at Xabi Alonso. Whether he would leave and come to it, you'd have to think it'd be an ideal fit for both people. But like, would you want to be coming into Liverpool after Klopp? He's like a god. He's there. Fergie, I know he's not like Fergie was there a lot longer, but he's like he's kind of a lad that he'll be getting his statue, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean it's a difficult one. I agree with you. The fact that I think Liverpool are going to be left in a much stronger position than United. That was one of my big criticisms of Ferguson when he left. Was he actually left us with a really, really poor squad. I want to talk a little bit about Arsenal before we finish up. They're 5-0 up at the moment, just half time against Sheffield United.
Yeah, the only thing that you have to say is Sheffield United are
dirt.
Sheffield United sold their best two players at the start of the season and didn't buy anybody. Well, I could be proven wrong here. I don't mean didn't buy anybody. They obviously did a bit of transfer business, but didn't buy anybody of note. It's them and Burnley, I have to say, have been two of the most disappointing teams to come up that I have ever seen in my life. They have neither of it.
People were tipping Burnley for mid-table.
Yeah, I think they were because Company had this aura about them that like they were always kind of a team similar to Stoke, not a big physical team, hard to beat, hard place to go, never really played attractive football. Do you know, under Sean Dyche's teams are historically tough to beat.
Yeah,
I think Company is trying to play football the right way, but doesn't have the squad to do that.
Yeah, he hasn't changed his philosophy from the Championship, really, hasn't he? Not.
I think that any other manager wouldn't be still at Burnley now. Yeah. Only for he has a history, not with Burnley, but has a presence. Like they walked that league last year.
Yeah.
But it's a sad thing to say. Like it's the difference. And it's all down to money. It's the difference between the Premier League and the Championship. Look at the top end of that Championship. I know Ipswich are knocking up around there now, but the three teams that went down are in the top 4 or 5 knocking around that, and they could well easily come up. And the three teams that came up, although Luton is kind of everybody's second team in the Premier League, not second team, but you know, like with their ground and like
everyone wants to be there.
Latest thing with Tom Lockyer, people, I think nobody would begrudge them staying up.
No.
Whereas I think everybody be like, oh, Sheffield United and Burnley, get rid of them. They don't offer anything to the Premier League.
Yeah.
But sorry, going back to Arsenal, what were you saying? Like, do you think Arsenal can stick it out?
Yeah, well, like obviously we done an awful lot of podcasts last season where I was quite critical of Arsenal, and I was very much saying no, they won't last the pace, so on and so forth. I'm getting a different sense from Arsenal this year. I think they're more comfortable in the position that they're in, chasing the lead rather than, you know, being the ones being chased. But I've been an awful lot more impressed with Arsenal this year in terms of how they're playing. You know, they've got no out-and-out goal scorer, but they're banging in goals. Would you give them...
They play a lovely style of football. They play that 4-3-3 where they have their wingers, and they have wingers like Saka is there, Foden, Martinelli, he's lightning, Jesus up through the middle, albeit he doesn't score that many goals. Saka has chipped in with a lot of goals. I think he's 19 or 20 contributions in the Premier League this season. Declan Rice has kind of shored up that midfield.
Odegaard is
a player. He is unbelievable.
But in fairness to Arteta, he's even getting a spin out of Havertz.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, but I think Arteta knew what Havertz was going to give him, and he brought him in to do that job. You know, it mightn't always be pretty, but he was kind of, it's as if he's trying to complete a jigsaw and he was like, right, this is a player we need. Like, you couldn't say that. I know there was big money paid from him. Like, people are like, oh, Chelsea be more than happy to get rid of him for that money. But he's far from a flop. I'm not saying he's a raving success, but he's fitted in there. You see the way money is these days. Like, no player's going for that's nearly worth their salt is going for less than 50 million. It's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's just the way it is. But then again, you look like if you look at Ten Hag, you look back at Arsenal. It was only 3 seasons ago that the Arsenal fans were calling for Arteta out. They had banners in the stadium. They stuck with it. They rode out through the storm. They put in a good title race last week. He picked up an FA Cup.
You know what they done? They allowed him to get rid of the players he wanted to get rid of. I think that was the biggest decision they made.
And now he has a real Arteta team. He had similar struggles along the way to Ten Hag, as in Aubameyang. He just froze him out. He was like, you're poison. Don't want you. I think they shipped him off in January. Get rid of him. Don't want him in here.
Yeah. The other lad, who's the other French lad? The Baldy lad. Lacazette, yeah, got rid of him as well.
Like, you have to give credit to Arteta. He knows what he's doing. I'd rate him as a manager.
Yeah. No,
Arsenal
he's impressing me now as well, I have to say.
Arsenal are a good team to watch. Even making that decision with Ramsdale.
Yeah.
Like, that was a massive decision to bring in.
Yeah.
Or to do, you know? Like,
but if I was to ask you now then, between the top 3, Liverpool, City and Arsenal, who's winning the league?
Heart says Liverpool, head says City. Don't think Arsenal will do it anyway.
Don't think Arsenal.
That's no bad on Arsenal. I just think the other 2 teams have that bit more experience in this level, and I just think the way things are going, like, them players are dying for Klopp out on that pitch. I think Man City just have the best technical squad in the Premier League, and I don't think anyone will doubt that. I'm going for, like, saying with them for backup that they have coming off the bench. No team has what they have. I think it was great for football and great for Liverpool what Klopp done in the Carling Cup final when he brought on so many young people and they still stuck it out and went on and won it. And them young lads seem to be getting a pretty good run along the way. He's bringing them on in every match. Some of them are starting games.
Yeah.
Which is, like, very good to see for them.
Well, I'd be similar.
Every single one of them young lads, every single one of the young lads seems to have a famous father or a father that played football. Did you see that?
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I'd be similar to what you're saying there. So, with my heart, I would say Arsenal because it's the lesser of 3 evils for me. But my head would say Man City. I don't think anyone are good enough to catch him, to be quite honest. And again, like we've seen Man City over the last couple of weeks, they haven't been putting in outstanding performances, but they're getting the job done. They're winning games. It looks to me they're doing what they always do. They're just starting to get going now. You know, Champions League.
Look at, like, it's Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne's out for half the season. He comes back and, like, he hits the ground running, coming in, chipping in with unbelievable assists, couple of brilliant goals, just link up play, and they chip in with goals from everywhere. They're not reliant on Haaland, just Haaland. Foden's banging in goals. And then them smelly games where they do only win 1-0, you see Rodri pops up.
Rodri, yeah.
You know, like, they're not reliant on any one player to just kind of getting them goals. And to be fair, Arsenal kind of chip in with a few goals around. I know Saka's kind of involved in a lot of I'm not saying scoring them all, but I did look at Jesus. He doesn't have that many goals either. Does Martinelli?
He's not even starting.
No, who's up top?
They've got Martinelli, Saka, and
Trossard is through the middle.
Is it Trossard?
Trossard, I see he's through the middle, so he's probably playing like false 9, maybe.
Yeah, probably. Let's have a look at the lineup there. They're actually playing. No, they're not. Trossard's not playing. Kai Havertz is playing in the 9.
Oh, I thought it was a team along with Trossard.
Yeah. Anyway, Ricey, man, I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Nice little 55 minutes. Appreciate you coming on. We may get back into the swing of doing more of them.
Yeah, no bother, Jack.
Absolutely. Appreciate you stopping by. Thanks a mil.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Right. See you in a bit. Thanks to everybody else for watching, guys. Please do smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Hit subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. If you're listening back on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, please do give us a 5-star review. It helps the channel out massively as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back on YouTube tomorrow, as always, tomorrow morning, and again tomorrow evening for our news show. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in a bit.